Greetings everyone, Brad here with Mild Mannered EDC. And today we're going to do a classic mild mannered review of this interesting knife. This is the Boker Urban Trapper. Well, I guess technically Boker Plus, right? I'm never quite sure what the difference is, but it's a Boker Plus Urban Trapper. Now, the Urban Trapper is a Brad Zinker design. He has a lot of really cool knife designs, actually. I know the dog tooth is one that he's pretty well known for, but there's a variety of others. It's a cool knife, this particular version, and it comes in a lot of variations, right? Whether it's just all titanium or with G10 or wood or whatever. So, you know, black blades, regular. I mean, there's just, a lot of different variations to this particular knife and variations in price as a result. So this particular knife is a Cutlery Shop exclusive. As you know, Cutlery Shop likes to do some orange and black from now and again. So yeah, that's what we got here, but it's still an Urban Trapper, so we can go ahead and do the review. So when we do a classic review, we talk blade, we talk a little action, then we talk scales and hardware, and then ergos and carry. But before we do that, let's talk specs, and then we'll do some size comparisons, and then we'll get underway. So this particular interesting knife, it's got a blade length of 3.5 inches. It's got a blade thickness of 0.1 inches. It's got a handle length, when it's all closed up here, of 4.25 inches, and a handle thickness of 0.46 inches. That gives you an overall of about 7.7 inches tip to tail when it's all opened up here. And then a weight, it's really, really lightweight of this particular one, I believe, is 2.1 ounces. If you just get the standard titanium one, I think it's even lighter than that, like 1.7 or 1.8 ounces. So very, very lightweight knife and very, very compact, as you can see. And we'll talk about that. So anyways, there we go. How about a few size comparisons? So I'm going to do the first size comparison I'm going to do is of a knife that this really reminds me a lot of, or that I just feel there's a lot of similarities to it in terms of carry and other things, and that is the Real Steel Metamorph. That's right. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, sort of large, long, pointy blades. Not large in terms of size necessarily, but they are fairly lengthy blades. And then you kind of got that stick handle, and when they're closed up, pretty darn discreet carry. So anyways, I just think this is a pretty fair, and this one's a little thicker, the Real Steel is, but anyways, kind of a fair comparison, and it reminded me quite a bit of that knife when I was carrying it around and using it. So there you go. How about a Ontario Rat, or Spidey Rat, as this version may be. So there you go. That's rat number 1, by the way. Best Tech Swordfish. Oh yeah, there's that. And then how about a knocking stuff all over the place, Kershaw Atmos. There you go. So this is it's a slender knife for certain, but also it's like I mentioned, 3.5 inch blade, nothing to scoff at there. So yeah, there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the review. So what do we got here on this blade? We have a clip point. Pretty nice clip point here. It is of VG10 steel. You can see that marking right there. And with a nice hollow grind. So this is actually a pretty darn slicey blade. In fact, as we mentioned, with the 0.10 thickness, very, 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 very slicey little blade. And I like first of all, I like clip points, and I also like hollow grinds. So this one, checking both those boxes for me, certainly. And VG10 is a perfectly fine steel. Some people, find it a little, I don't know. Do you have to sharpen it a bit more? Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's definitely, is it considered a budget steel? Yeah, I guess. On some level, maybe a little higher than normal. I mean, it's not a D2 or a 9CR or something like that, but at the same time, what's the differences between those? I don't know. It's up to you to decide. But for me, yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfectly adequate EDC steel is the bottom line, though, I guess. So that's great. And you're not getting, just basic old 8CR. So that's always nice to get a little bit of an upgrade there, if it matters to you. It doesn't always matter to everybody. So there you go. Now, as I mentioned, this is a clip point blade with a black coating on it. And in fact, we'll talk about that. The liners and everything else are also blacked out. It does have a nice, it's almost like it's a swedge, but it almost feels rounded. or almost like a crowned spine up near the top. So very nice. No jimping anywhere to speak of. And the sharpening, they missed the choil just a little bit there.
Missed it by that much.
I mean, it probably, you can see where it kind of starts to smile up a little bit. I mean, it probably would have been nicer to see it end about right here, but what are you going to do? So that's that. Now, there's a bit of blade marking on here. So you get the Boker Plus here, and then you get the VG10 on the back, as well as the BZ for Brad Zinker. Some people, that might bother some people. I think, the black with the white, I think it looks kind of cool. I like the BZ logo there. Doesn't bother me. Boker always seems to put a pretty big logo on their blades, so you kind of know that going in. So there you go. I mean, 3.5 inches, nothing to scoff at. Works pretty well. Nice and thin and sharp and slicey. Hollow grind, VG10. Yeah, no complaints really there with the blade at all. Now let's talk action. So this is very much I don't know if you can see it. So the jimping right there on the back of the flipper tab, which is pretty minimal, by the way, but is definitely designed to be a push button, meaning you just kind of push directly down on the flipper tab to get it out. So it's less of a flip, although it opens just fine either way. I found myself, though, just using the sort of push button technique, if it rises to the level of a technique, I guess, to flip the knife open. And it does have a nice action. And in fact, as you can see, quite fall shutty. It's running on IKBS ball bearings. Very, very smooth, nice action. Nothing to complain about there. And in fact, this was quite fidgetable if you like fidgeting with your knives. I enjoyed carrying this, flipping it, fidgeting, etc. So yeah, there you go. It's got a really cool action. Now, a couple points on the action here. So, well, let's talk. So it's got this, technically, I guess you'd call it a frame lock, because if you took these G10 scales off, that's what you would have, is a frame lock. And in fact, the traditional version of this with the gray titanium and the holes, speed holes that Brad Zinker likes to use, that's very much just a frame lock. Does it become a liner lock if you do it this way with scales? I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe somebody can tell me. I guess it's not a true liner lock in the sense that, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, kind of interesting. I mean, it's not, is it the same as this, right? I mean, this is a liner lock and this is, I don't know. Interesting. So the designation just is kind of weird. I don't know why I'm harping on that.
Do you even listen to yourself when you talk?
But I just thought it was kind of a funny. Most of them keep referring to this as a frame lock and not a liner lock. So I don't know. You decide. So there you go. A couple points on the action, though. So like I said, really good action. The detent is good. It's not. It passes the shake test pretty darn well. If you really fling it, it can come out. But yeah, overall, I think that's pretty nice. And like I said, I really like the action and the fall shuttiness of those IKBS bearings. Now, IKBS bearings could be a little bit of a pain in the butt to clean and maintain. But that's neither here nor there, I suppose. So I'm not going to knock it that way. Centering, dead on, no problem there. Only complaint. Is there blade play back and forth? No. Good. There is blade rock, though. Yeah, there's a little blade rock. So that up and down this way, vertical, it's just slightly. And, I think I've heard that as a complaint on this knife before. It's been around a while. It maybe would have been nice if Boker could have figured out how to tune that in a bit better. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but it's not a danger issue. It's not a safety issue, and it's certainly not anything that I think takes away from the knife dramatically. So there you go. But it is there, and I think, like I said, I think I've heard that on, I don't think it's just this knife to say that. So anyways, there you go. A little bit of blade rock. So other than that, like I said, I think the action is pretty darn good. I enjoyed it a lot. I think, you can do a lot worse. So there you go. Although that's not necessarily why you'd have the standards, I suppose. But but yeah, so good. Also, I do also want to mention with action, and I suppose I could have put that on ergos or carry, but you're not, for a blade this slender, it's unusual to be able to. So there's no real risk here of bumping into the blade on the back of the scales there. So that's great, nor the tip. So nice job on that design there. So there you go. Now let's talk scales and hardware, shall we? So the scales, like I said, this particular version is this orange G10. There you go, camera. Maybe. Sort of. Whoa, come on, camera. Orange G10. There you go. This is a Cutlery Shop exclusive, as I mentioned.
It's just so special.
So that's what it came with. Like I said, you can get, there's a lot of other variants in wood or just the titanium, and they're priced differently, depending on what those differences might be. So other than that, though, you've got the titanium. The rest of the scales or the rest of the frame rather is titanium, and the liners there, it's all titanium. So if you took off the scales, it would just be all titanium and all painted black. So there you go. So you get that orange and black. Now the clip is a stainless steel, not a titanium. I don't believe, actually. I could be wrong. I'll double check and maybe that's something actually I didn't think about too much. It feels and looks stainless steel to me, but I will check and let you know. I'll put it in the comments if it's something different. But there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's blacked out as well. I did notice a little bit of, see that? How it kind of scoots around a little bit on there? I don't know if you can. Kind of hear it maybe even too. But recessed screws, I mean, everything done very nicely. Everything's nicely chamfered, rounded off, smoothed off. A little bit of wiggle there, but I think that's just the nature of the clip and on the G10. But yeah, in and out of the pocket, pretty darn good. So no worries there from those materials. So since we're talking about that, let's talk ergos and carries, shall we? So ergos, in many ways, as I mentioned, it's a stick, right? I mean, you're essentially doing that. It is what it is, but it feels good in your hand, fits my hand well. A little bit of a hot spot here off the back of the clip, particularly right up here. Why is that the case? I don't know. I think, as I've said before in other videos, I think the hot spots on clips are very subjective. So, but for me, and I think just the slender nature of this knife, there's a little bit of that. The other thing I noticed when I carry, I don't know if you can hear that. I think that's the lock bar. Kind of going back and forth there. When you really bear down on with that forefinger, you can kind of wiggle the lock bar just a little bit. Again, is that a safety thing? I don't think so, but it's a little weird. So I don't know if it's ideal, actually. So anyways, there you go. So that's that. Carry, as I mentioned a minute ago, deep carry pocket clip, fits, fantastic in your pocket. I can get a quick hank here. We can take a look. Slides in and out. That's not fair. That's a little thicker than a pocket would be. Slides in and out very well. That's all you've got showing up there on the top of the pocket. So, and like I said, in your pocket, it's so lightweight and slender that it's really a nice carry. So no complaints there at all. Pocket clip is only tip up right side. So sorry, lefties, not going to do anything for you there. But yeah, that is. So this particular knife, $65, Cutlery Shop exclusive, as I mentioned. They vary in price and flavors depending on what kind of you're looking for and what you're interested in. But overall, I think this is a pretty cool knife. It's pretty fun. It's got some foibles, some things I'd like to see that, maybe a little different, especially when you get into some of the higher end versions of this. I hope they've fixed up some of those pieces, maybe, like I said, with the blade rock and that kind of weirdness with the, I don't get that little wiggle there with the lock bar, but yeah, overall, pretty cool. Boker Urban Trapper, Brad Zinker design. I've always enjoyed Brad Zinkers. I think this is actually the first one I've owned. I've handled several. But yeah, there you go. It's a cool knife. Cutlery Shop exclusive, like I said. And, that's a cool place to get some stuff from. They do need exclusives. You get a bunch of other little swag that comes with it when you buy one of their exclusives. So that's pretty neat. So anyways, there you go. That's my review here of the Boker Urban Trapper. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're all doing well out there. Most importantly, though, stay safe, be mild-mannered to one another, and all the best.